All right, day after Christmas 2023 project in the workshop. So, let's see if I can find my drawing here. Got a fish tank. It's bigger than our old one, so I need to make one of these guys. The idea is I'm using pipe to build a frame so it'll match the bookshelves. This is actually leftover wood from the bookshelves that I built, so the color will match, the grain will match, it'll same size, same everything. So what I'm going to do is the top is going to be 28 inches long and 14 inches deep. The fish tank is 24 inches long and 12 inches deep, so we'll have a little lip around the end, but not enough for like the kids to put stuff all the way around the edges and stuff and just accumulate things. So we're going to have a lower level, mostly for stability here, but it'll also serve as a shelf. We're going to get some decorative baskets to slide in there so we can store the fish food and backup filters and things like that. And the original plan was to throw some casters on the bottom, but evidently you have to special order casters that'll fit inside pipe like that. So I went ahead and we'll get those ordered. But for some extra stability, I added a cross frame down here. And we'll throw the casters on at the bottom once those come in. So, let's talk about what that looks like. That's what that looks like. So that's the bottom frame, nice and sturdy. I was going to start with not having this cross member in the middle and just have these freestanding, but 18 inches of just freestanding pipe like that with 260 pounds of water, that just wasn't going to cut it. So, yeah, I decided to put this in there, and I'm happy that I did. And now what I'm doing is I am going to, since this is going to be 14 inches wide, and my local Home Depot doesn't have 2x14s or 2x16s, because a 2x14 would actually be 13 inches. And I have to rip the round edges off of them so it's nice and square like the bookshelves and this middle piece of wood right here. I'm going to, follow me now. There you go, dog. Take these, or this, 2x8. I'm going to rip the round edges off of it, make it about 7 inches, and then I'm going to butt them together. And to butt them together, I'm going to use this Big Daddy dowel right here and glue them up, plug them in, sink them about 2 inches in there so it'll stay nice and sturdy. I may even go 3 inches, might as well. I've got the dowel for it. Let it dry up, sand them down, putty them up, stain it. Robert's your mother's brother. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at. The whole cost of everything was, I mean, including the stain and the finish and the metal and the screws, like the whole shebang was like 185 bucks. So not that bad, but I definitely bought extra parts that I'm going to take back as well. So I'd account for probably the project costing about $120. But I'll check in with you once I get some more stuff put together. Oh, I'm not sure if I discussed this. So this is that middle board. This is that middle board. The way that I designed the bookshelves were they're freestanding on the wall or floating, and I sunk the pipes actually through the wood for both vertical and lateral and cross stability. So that's what I'm going to do here as well. Since the top piece is going to be bigger than the bottom piece, it's going to look a little smaller down there below, as it should, kind of like a Heidi shelf sort of thing. The supports are actually going to run through the wood and sit on top of a joining piece of pipe. So, one of these guys. And it will add further rigidity in the middle, so you'll have top, middle, and bottom support. I think should be pretty solid. Over-engineer it to make sure that 260 pounds worth of water and fish tank ain't gonna come crashing down on the kids. Or at all, for that matter. Yeah, so I'll check back in just a little bit once I make some more progress. All right, so rip down the pieces with the table saw. So, I've got nice 90-degree angles here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to join these two. So I got out my board, measured 2 inches off the edge to give it some fringe stability, and then every 6 inches, so I got one square in the middle and then 2 distributed in the weight. It's going to be carrying a lot of weight, maybe over-engineered, but I wanted to be safe. So now what I'm going to do, since I got my lines marked on both pieces of wood there, they go boop. I've got a dowel jig, so I'm going to plot some centered holes and use my kit here to match them up nicely on this other side. Then I'm going to use my 7/8 bit because I'm using 3/4 inch dowels. I want a little bit of wiggle room. And then on the bottom side, I'm going to sink in 4 pocket screws across the bottom once I glue it up, just to snug it up tight, because I left my clamps this size out in the rain, didn't realize it, they got all rusted, and I have to either get some new ones or break them loose. All right, next step. All right, calling an audible because my jig here, it's only for 1-inch wood. I can't get it center. What I've done is I've drawn a center line here and throughout all the way down to make sure I get a straight line. I'm going to take this straight edge that I just created and snap a line, and then I'll have my center point. All right, so now that I got my little holes drilled on center all the way down where my dowels are going to go, I use my little dowel jig guy here. This is actually a pretty smart, simplistic idea. Fits flush in that hole. You lay it down. Zoom out a little bit here. Then you line up your boards, and then you smush them together, and it creates a perfectly aligned hole with where your dowel goes. Pretty smart, right? All right, and as I'm drilling my holes, I got a depth marker here. So you can see that with the shade. Make sure it fits right down to that line. Then I move on. Little dry fit time. Ready? Whoop. Get that in there. Whoop. Yeah. Break the little burr off of there. Yeah, there we go. Get a little blood on that one. We'll tell you about that later. Alright. And then this bad boy is gonna go on just like like a glove. Here, I'm gonna have to put this down. A little assist from the fold phone here during the glue up. A little bit of sticky magic there. I give it the dibble dabble. Bit of a hole there. Pull on a hole. I'm gonna take our dowel, spread it around, make sure we get a nice coating there. We'll do the same thing on the other side. That little burr right there that may create some space that we don't want. All right. I'm going a little overboard and sloppy with the glue. It's alright, I can get that all cleaned up before it starts to set in, and we're going to do a pretty fair amount of sanding on this anyway, seeing as it's essentially a piece of furniture. I mean, it'll be seen as something that you walk past every day and you want it to look good. And I've got the bookshelf all polished down the same way, down to 220 grit. All right, here we go. Come on, baby. Drive up much easier. There we go. Get my piece of wood and my mallet here. Hold on. Not sure if we can get a better angle on that. That'll do it. A little bit of persuasion. All right. After all the persuasion I gave this thing, it still wasn't sucking up tight. So I went ahead and threw the ratchets on it to get it nice and tight. If you're going to do this, though, just make sure you put a shim in behind your ratchet so you don't scar up your wood. And you do the same on the edges so you don't round it off. And then, while you got the time, you can get that extra glue off. I usually, while it's still wet, just take a little, really lightly, just peel that off. Because that'll get all clogged up in your sandpaper. You'll go through more paper and it'll just be irritating. So, give it a wipe and get some of those extra little bits off. I don't have any rags laying around that I'm not going to use for staining it, so I use my old work glove. I know how to do it. And then come back through and give it a little cleanup. Alright, we're well on our way. More to come. I wanted to call something out that I just enjoy the hell out of. I don't know if you can see this, but you see that line, that pen line, and you see how it is perfectly seen and even all the way down that cut. That kind of stuff gets me going. I love that. That means that all my tools are perfectly square and aligned with one another, and I'm just doing good quality work. That's the kind of stuff that gets you right here. All right, there you go. Nice smooth finish. Really only have to worry about the edges because the tank is going to come 1/2 inch to the front, or if we slide it back, be a whole inch, and then 2 1/4 inches on each side. Show you this one too. So I'll sand it up, drill the holes. There you go. Alright, now moving on to staining. Super easy. Everything in our house we've stained with this stain. If they ever decide to take it off the market, I'm going to buy 100 gallons of it, because that's what our whole house is done in. All you do is dust it off, wipe it on, wipe it off. Here we go. Well, I got on a roll the other night and think I missed a couple steps on my recording, so I'm going to go over a couple here. Where pull up my chair now. So you can see, or maybe be able to tell, that the metal has got a nice little shine to it now. And it's all uniform color. It's because I painted it with this Rust-Oleum metallic oil rub bronze. We painted all of the metal finishings in the house with it. so it matches everything within the house. I stained the shelf and tightened all of the pipes down so they're nice and sturdy. Slid it down over top like a glove. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking these oil rubbed bronze flanges, and you can see what color they were on the other side. It's just not as attractive, whereas this gives it like a semi-finished though rustic look. So I took these and I built out some little footers that are going to go on the bottom, fastened by these flanges. And I set up the flanges all in a uniform way. So the screws will be at the corners. Punch a little hole so I can pre-drill those. These little blocks are so small, if I were to just screw into them, I think they'd split. And then on the bottom side, I picked up a couple of these swinging casters. 2 of them with brakes that are going to sit on the bottom of these footings, so we can move the thing around in case something spills or we want to dust behind it. We just kind of roll it out of the way and roll it back. All right, so that's what I'm doing right now, is countersinking those. Going to get the footings on, then I'm going to throw the top on it, and we'll be ready to go. All right, so I got the undermount all set up. That process, it's upside down right now. I'm going to repeat that process by measuring out our casters, punching a hole with the pencil, just like it did over here. You can see my 4 marks. Put the casters on, flip it over, put the top on. We're going to be in business. All right, now, after I got the casters on, got the shelf, and got the top turned upside down so I could sink my screws. Measured it out, 1.25 inches off the front, 3/4 inch off the back, so it has a little front lip as it sits against the wall, and 2 3/4 inches off either side, which is, you know, a little bit shorter and wider than this middle shelf, so to give it more of a staggered look. Got a little handprint of stain on the bottom as I was working on it last night, but that's no big deal. That's the bottom of the bottom shelf. All right, I'll show you when it's all done.